Hello guys, let's talk computers. What is a computer? A computer is a device that processes data. Data becomes information. An electronic machine that processes data. Data becomes information. A computer is a device that processes data. Data becomes information. An electronic machine or device that processes data. Data becomes information. How many types of computers do we have? We have several types. Tablets, cell phones, PC, computers, personal computers or PC, laptop, different type of laptops. All of those are computers. A computer is an electronic machine that processes data. Data becomes information. We have several types of computers: cell phones, tablets, PCs, laptops, and so forth. To have a computer, or to call something computer or a computer, he must have at least 4 components. To call that element or that device a computer, you must have at least 4 components. What are those? Input, output, the case. Okay, you must have at least 4 components. I mentioned input, output, and the case, but I said 4. Let's see: keyboard, mouse, monitor, and the case or the box. What is an input device? An input device is anything that you can use to communicate with the system. Anything that you can use to communicate with the system. Keyboard, stylus, mouse, touch screen, your voice, anything that you can use to communicate with the system can be categorized as an input device. Again, to have a computer, you need at least 4 parts or 4 components, 4 elements: mouse, keyboard, monitor, and the case. Of course, we're gonna see what inside of the case further, but those 4 elements: mouse, keyboard, monitor, and the case. To call something an input device, it should be or must be in the shape of a keyboard, touch screen, stylus, your voice. Basically, anything you can use to communicate is an input device or can be considered as an input device. What about output? Output device is anything that you can use or you use to see what's going on inside of that machine, inside of that device. Your text, your monitor, which is your screen, a printer, a speaker, sound. The sound comes out of the machine is an output device. Anything that you can use to see, anything that you can use to see what's going on inside of that machine is an output device. Anything that you can use to see, to hear, is an output device. Okay, so output devices, anything that you can use to see what's going on. It can be the monitor itself, it can be a speaker, it can be a headphone, it can be a pointer, it can be a text that you have on a piece of paper, a hard copy. All of those pictures, all of those are output device. Anything that you can use to see or to hear what's going on inside of that machine is an output device. Again, a computer is a device, an electronic machine that processes data. Data becomes information. To have a computer, you need at least 4 components: mouse, keyboard, monitor, and the case. Out of those 4 components, 2 of those are input devices: mouse and keyboard. 1 is output, which is the monitor. However, anything that you can use to see or to hear what's going on inside of that machine is an output devices, like all-in-one printer, scanner, copier machine, fax, cloud-ready printer, anything everything that you can use to see what's going on or to hear what's going on is an output device. Inside of the case, we have the motherboard, one core element of the computer. We have CPU, core element. We have RAM, random access memory, that's another core element. You have the hard drive, another core element of a computer. All the rest are extensions, can be seen as other stuff you place or you put in the computer. But the elements that necessary for that machine to be functioned as a computer should be motherboard, CPU, RAM, and the hard drive. Of course, you can add your sound or video card. You can add your NIC, network interface card, your NIC card. But it is important for the computers nowadays, specifically when all those devices and items need to be connected online to or through the internet, you need the NIC. But it is not necessarily a part that makes the computer works. Okay, it is an important piece of hardware, but it is not one of the most critical part of a computer. One of the most critical part of a computer, I'm talking about the case itself, is the motherboard, CPU, RAM, hard drive. Overall, I can say input devices, output device, the case. Inside of that case, we have motherboard, CPUs or CPU. If I can say CPUs, if it's a dual core or more than one CPUs inside of that case, hard drive, and the memory. The memory, it's RAM, random access memory. Then all the rest are things that you add on or you can add later on: sound, video card, network card, and everything. So technically, a computer is an electronic device that processes data. Data becomes information. Okay, data becomes information. To have a computer, you need at least 4 components: mouse, keyboard, monitor, and the case. Inside of that case, you need at least 4 of those parts: motherboard, CPUs, RAM, and the hard drive. All of those cables that inside of that case are called data cables. Data cables. In the computer itself, in the motherboard, all of those devices connected inside are on top of the motherboard. They use, let's say for instance, for the RAM, for your RAM, your memory, you use what we call slots extension to put your card. Same thing for the sound, same thing for the network card. Okay, there's a way to put them on the motherboard: slots extension, you put them on the motherboard. Now anything that you connect to the motherboard in the back of the case or outside is a port. The port allows you to connect anything. Let's say for your USB, your mouse, your Ethernet cable, all of those, regardless of the size of it, is a port. Okay, now computer uses binary, zeros and one. Computer speaks binary. That's the language computer speaks, binary language, zeros and one. Now to have a computer working, you need power. Computer use DC power. Computer use DC power. However, the power supplies is the one, is the element, is the component, is the piece of hardware that converts AC to DC. AC is the electrical current that being converted into AC. Which part does that for you? The conversion is done through the power supplies. Power supplies converts AC to DC. Now the CPUs itself measure in hertz. The CPU is measured in hertz. It can be, just like I said earlier, it can be one CPU or a single CPU. It can be dual core or quad core and so forth. Okay, now inside of the computer, I mentioned earlier, we have a part called the hard drive. The hard drive is the storage. The computer has two types of storages: temporary storage, which is RAM, temporary storage. We have permanent storage, which is the hard drive. Hard disk, which is the primary storage, is a non-volatile storage, is inside of the computer itself, is inside of the machine. Your storage, your permanent one inside, is the hard drive. Inside also you have the temp. Temp is your memory. Your memory is the temp storage inside of the machine itself. Again, two types of storages inside of the machine: temporary storage and permanent storage. Your permanent storage is the hard drive, the local disk. Your local disk is inside of the machine. And then in terms of storages itself, you have internal and you have external. We measure those in terms of zeros and one. We measure storages in kilobytes, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, yottabyte, and so forth. Simply means zeros and ones. Your memory measured in bits, binary digit, that the bit, binary digit, zeros and ones. Bit becomes byte. To have a byte, you need 8 small bits: kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, yottabyte, and so forth and so forth. Again, inside of the computer you have two types of storage: temporary, which is your memory card, your RAM, and the permanent storage, which is your hard drive. All of the external storage, your hard drive can be external as well, or I should say you can also have another external storage outside of the computer that connects to the motherboard through what we call the port or with a cable. Your storages can be internal or can be external. All of those measures or measured in bytes, kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, and so forth. And your permanent storage, which is your hard drive. And your hard drive is measured in kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte, or yottabyte, and so forth. Again, your memory card is measured in bits. That's where your zeros and ones come from, the language speaking or spoken by computers. Okay? Bit. To have a byte is equal to a character. A character is equal to a byte. Again, a computer is an electronic device that processes data. Data becomes information. To have a computer, you need at least 4 components: mouse, keyboard, monitor, and the case. Inside of the case, we have motherboard, CPUs, RAM, and the hard drive. Those are the elements, the core components, the core elements to call something a computer. Alright guys, this is it for today. Ciao ciao.